Sinyalnya mana sih?
Selamat siang Bapak Ibu, kami ucapkan selamat datang di Education Going Digital Webinar Series yang diselenggarakan oleh Mentari Group dan Asta Ilmu Sukses. Sekarang ini kita sedang menunggu peserta lainnya untuk bergabung bersama kita di ruang Zoom Meeting.
Ini lagi nge-lag loh. Coba lagi nge-lag. Tolnya nih. Tidak. Bagus ya ini jaringannya baik.
Sekali lagi saya ucapkan selamat datang di Education Going Digital Webinar Series yang diselenggarakan oleh Mentari Group dan Asta Ilmu Sukses. Sekarang kita sedang menunggu peserta lainnya untuk bergabung bersama kita di ruang Zoom ini ya. Good afternoon, educators. Welcome to Education Going Digital Webinar Series presented by Study Group and Asta Ilmu Sukses. While waiting for the other participants to join our room, please kindly watch some videos from Mentari Group. Enjoy the video.
pentingnya guru. Guru adalah pengaruh utama untuk generasi muda. Guru mampu mengubah generasi muda Indonesia. Maukah kamu mengambil peran itu? Mengambil peran penting membangun generasi muda, generasi bangsa. Negara memanggilmu. Jawab panggilan itu.
New Frontiers, an exciting new English course for teens, from beginner to upper intermediate level. New Frontiers is a 6-level ELT course book series for secondary school learners from Compass Publishing. The series is carefully aligned with the Common European Framework of Reference and covers all key language competencies from levels A1 to B2. 1. Each level of New Frontiers features a 10-unit structure of lessons connected by themes and goals. 2. Input and output skills are balanced throughout the course, with individual lessons in every unit dedicated to one of the 4 skills: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. 3. There is a clear focus on building CEFR competencies, which are listed in the learning aims at the start of each unit. 4. Another key feature of the series are the projects, which concludes every unit. These are linked to the theme of the unit and give students an opportunity to apply what they've learned in the previous lessons while practicing 21st century skills. 5. The bold, colorful design and entertaining comics and animations in every unit are sure to grab students' attention. Unit Walkthrough. Each unit is built around themes that relate directly to the everyday lives of students, such as sports, entertainment, clothing, friends, or in this case, food. The unit opens with an eye-catching photo and a bold, colorful design engage students. 1. Teachers and students can use the QR code to access all the audio tracks for the unit, which stream directly on their phone or computer. These audio files are also available for download on our website. 2. Easy to understand aims for the unit, focused on everyday language and competencies, with a balance of all 4 language skills. These can occur in any order, but each unit ends with a video and a 21st century skills project. Warm-up questions generate lead-in discussion, activate schema, and personalize the topic for students. The components for this series include a student book, a full-color workbook, and a teacher's guide with extensive class notes and ideas for expansion activities. You can also visit our website to download a full range of supplementary materials to make teaching easier and enrich the learning experience of your students. These include answer keys, word lists, MP3 audio, transcripts, a full range of assessment exams, our in-class presentation tool Teacher's Kit, and an accompanying learning app. If you're looking for a new course book that focuses on CEFR competencies, 21st century skills, and project-based learning with a communicative approach and balanced instruction in all 4 language skills, try New Frontiers. New Frontiers. Explore your world. For more information.
Dear educators, now we are going to play Mentari Group March atau Mentari Group. Dan March ini sangat menggambarkan apa yang Mentari Group percaya, kerjakan, dan tentunya hidupi setiap hari. Kami sangat berharap melalui Mars ini, Bapak Ibu dapat lebih mengenal Mentari Group. Mari kita dengarkan bersama Mars Mentari Group.
Insan mentari, hai ini waktumu mengabdi bangsa lewat pendidikan. Berangkat dari visi misi luhur, kami datang untuk membangun negeri, berani bermimpi dan terus berkreasi, mau dan sanggup menjadi yang terbaik, cakap cepat cerdas selai, itu adalah kami, berharap terbaik, itulah nafas kami, untuk Indonesia kami berkarya, bangun pendidikan, majukan bangsa.
Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, educators. Welcome to Education Going Digital webinar series presented by Mentari Group and Asta Ilmu Sukses. This program is created to be a platform for educators across Indonesia to share and grow together. And today, we are having the second webinar of Education Going Digital series, and the agenda will cover the topic setting up a fully digital interactive English classroom for teenagers at high school. For 2 hours ahead, me, Ocha, will lead this agenda. And ladies and gentlemen, now we are having around 117 participants in this Zoom meeting room. And we also have other participants joining us by live streaming. The participants are educators all across Indonesia. Luar biasa sekali ya Bapak Ibu ya. Dan yang lebih luar biasanya lagi, trainer kita hari ini, Mr. John Edwards, sekarang berada di Korea Selatan dan hadir bersama kita. Bersyukur sekali teknologi dapat mempersatukan kita hari ini. And before we start our agenda, let me inform you of some regulations for our webinar. The first one is, during the agenda, the participant's microphone will be off or muted. And then we will have 2 sessions of answer. It's in the middle of the sharing session and also at the end of the session. And if you have any question, you may use the raise hand feature in the participant column. Jadi apabila Bapak Ibu ingin bertanya atau menyampaikan gagasan kepada trainer kita hari ini, Bapak Ibu bisa menggunakan fitur raise hand yang terletak di bagian partisipan ya, di bagian bawah. And then during the Q&A sessions, I will choose 2 lucky people for each session to deliver their question to our trainer. And the chosen participants will have their microphone unmuted. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we start our agenda, I would like to invite Mr. Tri Turturi as Chief Operating Officer of Mentari Group to deliver opening remarks. Please welcome Mr. Tri Turturi.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ocha. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the session this afternoon. I mean, we are very happy that based on the registration system that we had, this webinar should be attended by 300 to 400 participants, which shows the great interest, from the teachers to learn more about effective distance learning. Since we understand now that the new academic year is around. Since 15 July, I think, we all heard the announcement from the Minister of Education, Mr. Nadiem Makarim, that for the schools that located in the zone, in red zone or orange, yellow zone, they're supposed to continue the distance learning program in the new academic year. And we understand, I mean, we talked to so many schools in Indonesia. We heard the feedback and concerns from the teachers. Not all of us, in fact, are completely ready to embrace the new normal. I mean, what they call new normal, but that's really, pressurizing for some of the teachers that are expected to deliver the lessons as effective as they deliver, in the classroom, in the traditional classroom. So we do hope that the session this afternoon gonna give you insights, gonna give you the new paradigms that gonna equip the teachers with some new knowledges that gonna be helpful and useful for you as teachers to design the effective and interactive English classroom, even though it's now becoming the virtual classroom. And thanks to the trainer, Mr. John Edwards, thanks to the technology, somebody that's sitting in South Korea can now, deliver the webinar session to all the teachers, across Indonesia. I think, we have some teachers, from Sumatra, from Sulawesi, from Kalimantan. So the COVID-19 outbreak, to some extent, really opened our eyes that there have been so many things that we could do that we probably never imagined before, including the virtual classroom. So we hope that in the next 2 hours, the session gonna give you some enlightenment that, that the new normal is not the end, for us being the teachers. We're still gonna deliver the effective learning experience for our students. We're still gonna deliver, the interactive classroom, for English subject. So it's not gonna change the objective, the goals for the students, of having the good quality education. Because, from the 3 months, the first phase of the distance learning program that has been running from March until May, we heard from the teachers, that they've got problems in maintaining the quote unquote, quality teaching and learning that they're supposed to do, in the traditional classroom. So I'm really hoping, that the 2-hour session ahead gonna be insightful, gonna be helpful, useful. And from Mentari Group, once again, I'd like to extend my biggest gratitude to all the teachers for spending time with us this afternoon to join the webinar. And I'm really hopeful and wish you all a very enjoyable and insightful session. Thank you very much. And now I hand over back to the moderator, Ms. Ocha.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tri, for the opening remarks. And dear educators, without any further ado, let's start our session by watching our trainer's video profile. Educators, please welcome Mr. John Edwards.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to the seminar. For the next 2 hours, we're going to be talking about online learning, especially with teenagers. And I hope that you enjoy the seminar and you get something useful out of it. And I look forward to chatting with you in the Q&A session. Just give me a moment. I'm not an expert at Zoom, so just give me a moment to share my screen. Okay, there we go. Everyone can see the screen all right?
Yes, Mr. John.
Okay. So let me start by saying, I'll try, excuse my pronunciation. Selamat siang, Babak dan Ibu Guru.
Yay.
Thank you, Mr. John. Selamat siang.
I'm very sorry for destroying the pronunciation, but I did my best. Just for the agenda today, I'm going to give you a little introduction about our company, Compass Publishing. Then we're going to talk about online ELT, English language teaching, especially for teen learners. Then I'm going to talk about two of our digital products. We have some digital solutions for online teaching. The first one is ClassBox. I'll introduce that first, and then we'll have a short Q&A session. And then I'll introduce the second one, BigBox, and one of our series, New Frontiers, which you saw a video about in the introduction. And then we'll have a final Q&A session. So it'll be a full 2-hour session. Anyways, let's get started. So a little bit about our company, Compass Publishing. We're based in Seoul, Korea. We do business all over the world, but we started in Seoul, Korea, and that's where our main headquarters are located. We were founded about 21 years ago in 1999, and we are a ELT materials developer and publisher. So that's what we specialize in, ELT materials. And we have a very extensive catalog of products from kindergarten all the way up to adult, including things like course books, skill books, readers, test preparation for TOEIC and TOEFL tests, as well as ESP books for special purposes like hospitality and business, tourism. We ship our products to more than 40 countries around the world. And lately, in the last 5 years, we've been transitioning into edutech. So we've been introducing new blended learning products that go with our print products. And also, more recently, we've been introducing pure digital solutions as well. So I'm going to introduce some of those to you today. So my first question to you, I hope nobody cries, but do you miss your classroom? I guess if you're like a lot of the teachers that I talk to, you really miss being in the classroom and being with your students and interacting with them directly. And, you know, when we signed up as teachers, when we got our training and decided to become teachers, I don't think any of us were expecting to have this kind of situation like we have now. You know, this is our new normal. Most of us are working at least part of the time from home, sometimes a home office or sometimes from school, but we're interacting mostly with our devices. We're interacting with our computer or our tablet rather than directly with our students. So maybe some of us feel a little bit isolated, and certainly it's very overwhelming change. And if you think about in the last 6 months, how radically our lives have changed as teachers, this is very overwhelming. So I hope today to give you some strategies, some new ideas to try, and to feel a little bit more community with your fellow teachers, that we can kind of share our ideas together and face this new challenge together. I think that's very important, to feel kind of solidarity as teachers. So the good news is that for teen learners, you know, they're going to help us through this situation, because many of them have grown up with digital devices. They're very familiar. Most kids are better than us at using digital devices. They're very tech savvy, and they're digitally literate. They can pick up new technologies very quickly. And for them, it's actually their preferred way of communicating and accessing content and entertaining themselves. So I don't think we have anything to worry about when it comes to our teen learners adapting to this situation. They're very quick to pick up new technologies. The real problem is that, you know, we're being sort of thrown into this situation very suddenly, and we don't really have time to adapt to this new paradigm. So a lot of us as teachers, also as the program administrators, we're trying to fit the old ways into this new situation. We're trying to do the same kind of planning, class planning. We're trying to use the same teaching methods and materials. We're trying to use the same curriculum and the same kind of pacing that we were using before, but in this radically different situation. So that's nobody's fault. That's just a fact of the situation, that we really haven't had time to adapt to the new paradigm. But if we don't spend some time thinking carefully about what we're doing, I think it's very likely to be ineffective. Our efforts to educate our students and to keep things normal for them and for their education are likely to be ineffective. So we can talk about some of the differences between the traditional learning environment and what we're being forced into now. So in the traditional learning environment, the class sizes were relatively large, sometimes 30, 40 students. But because of the physical environment, we can handle that. So, the teacher can talk to all those students, they can interact fairly easily. And an important factor is that everybody was grouped together in the same space and the same time. And psychologically, that's very important, that's sort of learning time. Whereas in the new environment, the new paradigm, there isn't really a separate space, a separate time when learning happens, where students can kind of switch their psychology over towards learning. So this is kind of an important thing to think about. Also in the classroom, lots of peer interaction. When I talk to students, that's the biggest thing that they miss, just being with their classmates, being around them, and sharing information just about their lives, and also helping each other to learn. The fact that they're not in the same classroom, in the same space and time, means that we can't easily monitor them. We can't walk around and see how they're doing, looking over their shoulder. And so that means we can't have give them immediate and direct guidance as teachers. Another factor to think about is, we don't really have the same kind of physical resources in the online environment that we do in the physical environment. For example, we can't easily do things like labs. So all of these things are kind of limitations that we're facing now. But it's not all bad news. Whoops. It's not all bad news. There's some pros and cons to remote learning. The pro is that it's accessible anywhere, anytime. So students can learn, at the cafe, they can learn at home, they can have, that kind of experience and access their information, their classroom from any place at any time. And another benefit is that at least partly it can be self-paced. If the teacher sets it up properly, it can be self-paced. What does that mean? That means that, for learners that learn at a faster pace, they can speed through the material. They don't have to be bored. They don't have to be waiting for other students. And students that require more repetition, more practice, they can spend more time and they can look at videos, 2 or 3 times, or they can listen to the audio 2 or 3 times. So it can be self-paced more than in the classroom. Obviously, some of the cons, we've talked about them already a little bit. There's much less social interaction and much less student-teacher interaction. So we have to deal with that in some way. Also, not having a dedicated space is important. A lot of students won't have a computer, their own computer in their bedroom, or in their own computer that they can use for online learning. So they're going to have to share it with their little brother or sister, and they're going to have to deal with interruptions all the time. And the third negative, the third con, is that there's much less opportunity for support and supervision from the teacher. When administrators and teachers are thinking about the options for online learning, there's basically 9 things that they can think about. They can think about the modality. That means, how are we organizing the types of classes that we are using? Are we using just pure online, or are we using a blended solution where they're doing some or all of it online, some or most of it online, but then having some offline classes as well. So modality is one consideration, one option. Also the pacing. Some classes, some online classes, like things like Udemy or Coursera, they're very self-paced. The students can go at their own pace, and they can decide how quickly or how slowly they study. Or is the pace going to be set by the teacher, by the class? Is it going to be on a schedule? This is another thing we need to think about. And I think those two things can also be combined somehow. You can have some elements that are self-paced and some other elements that are class-paced. We also have to think about the student-teacher ratio. So I don't think many of us can accommodate a 1-to-1 ratio, but you know, the more manageable numbers are things like 1-to-10 or 1-to-15 for teenage learners. Some online classes like in Coursera and Udemy, they have unlimited students. So they have one teacher running a class for a huge number of students. So this is another possibility. We can also talk about the pedagogy, what kind of pedagogy we're going to be using. So is it expository? That means the teacher is explaining some material and the students are just learning? Or is it practical, like the students are doing some kind of simulation or they're doing some kind of activity and learning from that activity? Or is it exploratory, like the teacher poses questions or gives them some tasks to do, and by answering the questions or completing the tasks, they arrive at the information? Or it could be collaborative. They're working together in pairs or in small teams to learn things together. And there can be a mix of all four of those different types of pedagogy. We also need to think about the instructor role. Probably most of you, because you're being paid as teachers and the expectation is that you will take a very active role. But there's other kinds of classes like Udemy and Coursera where the instructor role is very small, or it could be none at all. Like the teacher sets up the class and then the class just runs by itself. But probably most of us will be having a very active role. Student role is also important. They could be studying independently, or they could be working collaboratively with their fellow students. We can also think about the kind of communication that we're going to be using. Is it going to be synchronous? That means happening simultaneously at the same time, like we're talking to each other now. Or is it going to be asynchronous, something like email or sending, recorded audio back and forth to each other? Or it could be a mix of the two. And lastly, we can think about the assessments and their role. Are we going to have, what kind of assessments are we going to have? Are we going to have automated or teacher feedback, or are we going to have peer feedback? And what kind of role are those assessments going to have? Are they going to adapt the instruction? That means when we get the information about the assessment, is that going to change how we are instructing the teachers, how we are instructing the students? Or is it going to give us information about the students' readiness to progress? So modality, pacing, student-teacher ratio, the type of pedagogy we use, the instructor role and student role, the type of communication we use, and the role and the type of assessments that we're using. These are all things that we need to think about. A few months ago, when the Korean Ministry of Education came out with their guidelines for the online teaching in Korea, they introduced this kind of model, which I think is very simple and very effective. It's kind of a very effective framework for you to think about in terms of the class types and the learning flow. So there's 3 types of classes that we can kind of have in our class, in our learning flow, and we can kind of circulate between them. We can rotate them. So the first one is the content-oriented class. So content-oriented class means the students are watching something, listening to something, or reading something. It's some kind of input, and that can be lecture type. For example, students could watch a recorded lecture or other kind of learning content, or it could be lecture activity where they're watching the content, but they're doing that with their classmates or with their teacher, and they're having a little discussion about the content at the same time. So the content-oriented class is the first type of class. That's usually followed by the real-time interactive class. So just like we're having now, this is an opportunity for the teacher to have real-time interaction with the students, to see how they did with learning the content. They're checking their understanding of the content, and also an opportunity for the students to ask questions about the content. So content-oriented class, followed by real-time interactive class. And then the third type of class in the learning flow is this task-oriented class. That means that the teacher assigns some kind of task for the students to work on, either on their own or with a classmate or with a small team. And this is meant to enable students to do self-learning. And then the teacher is going to provide feedback about that. Okay, so these three types of classes, and usually in your schedule, you would kind of rotate through them. This is the model that the Korean Ministry of Education suggested to teachers, and I think it's a very simple and effective model. I had a few small tips for you about how to more effectively engage your students. So the first thing is, I think a lot of teachers are very focused on how this change is affecting them and how they're struggling with it. But we also have to remember that our students are also possibly overwhelmed with this level of change as well. So in order to help them just psychologically deal with this kind of change, I think it's important to help them maintain a sense of order and a connection to each other. Like we mentioned before when we were talking about the pros and the cons, student interaction and teacher interaction are very limited in the online environment, learning environment. So we have, as teachers, we have to be the leaders, and we have to establish the connection with our students. So setting up some strong routines, strong rules, and a fixed schedule for the classes. We think of that as kind of imposing order on students, but I think a lot of students deal well with that. They need that kind of structure. Also, because the communication is very limited, I think as teachers, we need to prioritize that. We need to make that a priority for our teaching. So having time to talk to all of our students, sending regular communication to them, making time for one-on-one communication with them, or setting up a system where they can communicate with each other as well, like having a forum and a time to connect. So this is the first tip that I have, is maintain a sense of order and connect strong connections with each other. The second tip is to keep things simple. I think we have lots of tools that we can use. We can have different platforms that we can use to communicate. We have different LMS systems that we can use to communicate. But having just a few that we focus on and keeping things simple is going to help students adapt. So introduce new procedures and routines gradually and give them time to adjust. And another way to keep things simple is to have a small number of learning objectives per class. We have to kind of slow down our curriculum and our pacing to accommodate, there's a lot of repetition that we have to focus on. The third tip is to experiment and introduce variety. So what does that mean? That means if we're always following the same routines over and over again, it's going to get boring very quickly. So slowly we can introduce new things and try out new resources and new ways of working. And the fourth tip is to keep your energy level up. So in the online classroom, the energy level is very important. I think all of us have, if those of you that have taught online classes before, you know that it's very easy for students to look sleepy, to slouch down in their chairs, to get sort of tuned out and turned off. So as a teacher, the person who's doing most of the talking and most of the leading, you need to keep the energy level up. I think, you know, there are some advantages of using online media to teach. There's lots of things that we can do in online teaching that we can't do in the traditional classroom, and we should take advantage of those. So here's just some ideas that you could try. So I think Google has a lot of tools that you can use for collaborative teaching, different kinds of activities. So one is to have students create polls or surveys for each other using Google Forms. You can Google that, and it's a very useful tool, very easy to use, and they can learn to use it in about 10 minutes. So they can make forms, make surveys for each other, share them, and then talk about the results with each other, maybe give a presentation on the results. Also, not all of the communication needs to be synchronous. Not all of them need to be talking to each other in real time. Wait a minute, I'm being told to erase the lines on the screen. Let me try. There we go. Sorry about that. Not all of the communication needs to be synchronous. It doesn't have to be in real time. So you could have students record video or audio messages and then send those to each other as a way of kind of communicating one by one. I think it can add some variety to your teaching. Also, Google Docs is a great tool for creating a collaborative environment for them to do brainstorming or to do some kind of tasks like writing tasks, for example. So you could get them to share a Google Doc with their team or with their colleagues, and then you could have them work on that together to create sentences or paragraphs or a whole essay. Those are just some ways that you can use some tools for online teaching that are not available to you in the traditional classroom. I wanted to introduce to you some of our digital learning solutions from Compass Publishing. And the first one is going to be ClassBox. We're going to talk about that one first, and then we're having a Q&A session, and then we'll talk about BigBox. So in our domestic market, we have different kinds of online teaching tools. We have some for teachers, and we have also some for individualized learning. And we also have combined that with our paper books and ebooks to provide online and offline tools and contents for teachers and students. So now we're introducing that to the global market as well. So the first of those is ClassBox. So ClassBox is an easy to use teaching platform for English language teaching. And it can be used in the classroom. So it can be used in normal traditional teaching, but it can also be used for remote teaching. And it basically has two important parts: digital books library and a learning management system. So we're going to talk about each of those separately. So the digital books library has over 100 courses from kindergarten to adult level. And it also has access to over 1,000 digital streaming textbooks and readers as well. And you can search that library by the skill, by reading, listening, speaking, writing, or also by the CEFR level. So if your students are A1 or A2, you can search for the material that suits their CEFR level. And all of those ebooks include embedded media. So they have the audio built right into the page. Also answer keys, so you do an activity with your students and then you can reveal the answers. And they also have simple annotation tools like pens, highlighters, this kind of thing. I'm going to show you those later. There's also centralized all of our downloadable supplementary resources. So that means things like the worksheets, the tests, the transcripts, word lists, all of those things are available in one place for you to easily download. So really, this is a platform for all of our online and offline content that you can combine with this platform and also with our physical textbooks. So like I mentioned, the library is all searchable by the level, CEFR level, and also the grade level. And you can also search by the type of book, whether it's a course book, phonics, reading, writing, this kind of thing. Or you can search by the title of the book if you've already found one that you like. The ebooks have easy markup tools. So like down across the top, you can see the pen tool, the note tool. You can embed links into the book as well that you can use later. Down the left-hand side, you can see where all of the downloads are available. You can also stream all of the audio from the book. And like I mentioned, if you click on that downloads button on the left-hand side, you can see all of the additional download supplementary material available for that title. So the second kind of major part of the ClassBox platform is the LMS. So the nice thing about this LMS is it's very easy to use. And you can do things like manage your classes, assign homework, and view reports from the students. So after they do their homework, that homework, a report about their homework performance gets sent to your LMS, and you can see how all of the students did in one place. I'll show you how that works afterwards. It also integrates with our Big Box Learning app, so that individualized learning app that I talked about before, the LMS on ClassBox integrates with that. So all you have to do is share a class code with your students, and you can easily make that connection. So students can create classes on the LMS and then send that class code to their students. Students enter the class code in Big Box, and then that creates the link between ClassBox and Big Box. And after that link is established, you can send homework to your students directly in the app. As soon as they open the app, they're going to get a notification in Big Box that you've sent them an assignment. And then once they do the assignment, it's going to track their participation and their performance. So you can assign homework in the LMS. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment. And then this is the kind of notification that they're going to get. They're going to see a little pop-up in their device, and it's going to say, you have to do, New Frontiers, Unit 8, What an Adventure, and you have until the 17th to complete it. So it gives them a due date as well. After they do their homework, this is the kind of report that you're going to be able to see. So you can see all of your students, you can see how long they spent on each of the activities, and you can see for some of the activities that involve a right and a wrong answer, you can see how many points each of them got. So using this, you can easily pair this with any video conferencing platform. As anything that has screen sharing, you can use it to do online teaching. So I have a little video to demonstrate some of the functions, and I'm going to narrate it. So this is the UI, and you can see the different functions of the box. So this is the library, and you can see all of the books are, you can select the level, the CEFR level, or the grade level. And there's lots and lots of material. So for example, if your students are A2, you can see all these different course books that you can use, course books or skill books that you can use depending on what you want to work on with them. But we want to look at, let's say, New Frontiers, level 3. So you can select that book. And you can also put it in your favorites, and that is going to show up in My Bookshelf. So those are the books that you found that you want to use with your students. So there you can see New Frontiers 3 appears in our My Bookshelf. So once I open it up, this is the UI. You can see all of the downloads that are available for this title. You can also see all of the audio that's streamable. And I'll just show you some of the markup tools. So this is the memo tool. So if you have some teacher notes that you want to remember when you're teaching or when you're preparing for your classes, you can enter them here, and you can place those anywhere on the page, and those will persist, and they'll be linked with your account. So they'll always be available, and you can place those anywhere on the page. There's also pen tools with different colors and highlighters. So if you wanted to talk to the students about the picture and you wanted to have them look at particular parts of the picture, you could use the pen tool for that. You can also zoom in to any parts of the page. And one nice thing is you can add links. So you can, for example, if you have a video that you wanted to watch before the class starts, you can enter the URL in here. And that'll also persist on the page with your account. So you can put that anywhere on the page, and then just clicking on it will launch the video. So that can be very useful for your class planning. As I mentioned, you can zoom in on any of the parts of the page that you want to focus on. And all of the audio is embedded.
I'm sorry, Mr. John, we cannot hear any audio.
Okay, just a moment.
Okay.
How's that?
Not yet. Maybe share and check the box, the audio box, when
Share
you are
computer
sharing the screen. Yes.
Okay, let's try. It's okay. I'm not sure.
Cannot hear anything here.
Maybe stop share.
Yes, maybe you can.
Okay, I'll
Stop
stop.
share
I'll stop
first.
share.
Mm-hmm.
Just a moment.
And
Let's
then
do
check
an
the audio, the computer audio.
computer audio.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do a new share. Sorry for technical problems.
Number 4.
Okay.
My
Yes, you
dad-
can hear.
You can hear it now? Okay,
Yes.
sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
Okay, so you can share the audio.
Unit 1, Track 1-1.
Number 1. I bought a new tennis racket. Number 2. I love writing stories. I want to be a writer one day. Number 3. My favorite thing to do is write in my diary. Number 4.
And you can see all of the answer keys are also built in. You just have to check on the little lock icons, and it reveals the answers.
My dad and I love to play squash. Number 5. I broke my bat at baseball practice.
Just advance a little bit. So if you go to the LMS, I'll just show you a little bit about how to use that. So you can see a list of all the classes that I've created. And I'm going to create a new class. So this is a new class. I just enter the name of the class. If your school has set up their account together, you can also have different teachers as well that you can choose. So then you can see my new English class shows up in my list. I can also add, so I can send that code LV2B4Y. I can send that to all my students and have them enter that in their Big Box app, or I can also enter their name and their Big Box ID in here and add them manually myself. So I just added a student, and now you can see Timmy is registered, a new registered student. For each of the classes, you can also add homework. I'll show you how to use that. So if I go to my class and I click on report, I can see all of the students in the classroom. I can click on report for individual students, and I can see the homework that they've done. Unfortunately, Johnny hasn't done any homework yet. I've given him one assignment, but he hasn't done it yet. Or I can see a list of all the homework that I've given for a particular class. So since the beginning of April, I've given 4 homework assignments. And if I click on those homework assignments, I can see the results from each student. So this just gives you a very brief overview of the library, the ebook library, and the LMS. So if you want to find out more information about ClassBox, you can scan the QR code that you can see on your screen now. You can scan that with your phone. That's going to take you directly to the ClassBox website. Or you can go to classboxenglish.com. And if you go there and you sign up for an account, you can get 15 days free trial. And that's going to give you access to all of the materials that you've seen and the LMS. So you can try it out with your students and see if you like the platform. So I guess now we'll turn it over to Ms. Ocha, and we'll have a quick Q&A session for a few minutes, and then we'll start the second half of the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. John. So, dear educators, if you have any question or you want to deliver some ideas to Mr. John, you can use raise hand feature atau fitur raise hand yang ada di bagian participant column. Baik, Bapak Ibu, jika ada pertanyaan, silakan untuk disampaikan kepada Mr. John. Bisa menggunakan fitur raise hand ya. Silakan, apakah ada? Baik, so Mr. John, we already have the first participant here.
Okay.
It's Mr. or Miss Refwetik Rozifa. Silakan, sudah saya unmute.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
So I see that I saw you post like ClassBox before. So there are some sources on the ClassBox. So do you think that the materials on that books the same with the curriculums or the materials in our curriculum?
The question was, I think we lost the video.
Sorry, Mr. John. So the question is, are the books inside the ClassBox English are aligned with the Indonesian curriculum?
I think there's a wide range of different products. So some of them are aligned with the Ministry of Education curriculum. Mm-hmm. That platform is for the global, all of our markets. But certainly New Frontiers, that's the one of the products that I'm going to show you later. That is aligned with the curriculum of the Indonesian government.
Okay, thank you. Miss Refwetik, is it answering your question? So After this, Mr. John will deliver a presentation about New Frontiers, and it's aligned with the Indonesian curriculum. And the next question is from Mr. Bayu Jatmiko. Silahkan, Mr. Bayu.
Hello.
Mr. Bayu, silahkan di-unmute dulu. Okay.
Okay, so hi, can you hear me?
I can kind of hear something.
Mr. Bayu?
Okay, okay, can you hear me?
I
Suaranya
can't hear you
terlalu
very
kecil.
well.
All right, okay. I have two questions actually. So is there any way to convert other books or other PDF into the application or into the class, what is it again? Classbox?
Classbox.
Okay, Classbox, yeah. And another question is, can we apply this for other subjects?
Right now, we're focusing just on ELT material. We don't have a plan to expand that. But as for uploading other material, eventually we do want to make this a platform that's open to other publishers as well. So that is coming in the future.
Okay, so but can we sync it with other LMS or like Google Classroom or other platform?
Well, it can be used with other in collaboration with other platforms, certainly.
Okay, so what
Like
about the
for
book?
for example, you can send links in Google Classroom, right? You can send links to particular material.
All right, so once again, I think it's similar to the previous question. Can we somehow upload other books into this application, or is there any way to input it there?
Not yet. We don't have that functionality, but that's something that we are considering adding.
All right. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Bayu. So now we are going to continue for the next session. Mr. John, you may continue the presentation.
Okay. Thank you. So we talked about the teaching platform, which is Classbox. I'm going to introduce to you the other part of our digital solution, which is BigBox, which is our learning application, English learning application. So this features content that is personalized to suit the interests and abilities of the student, each individual student, and it also features gamified language learning. So sort of the core of BigBox is content curation. That means we have a huge library of over 11,000 videos and what we call playbooks. Playbooks are readers that are advanced automatically, and they have an audio track that goes along with the readers. So they actually watch it like a video, but they read along at the same time. So we have this huge library of material. And then when the student joins the app, the first time they join the app, they enter their age and they choose some interests. We have a screen that has about 50 different kinds of interests, things that they might be interested in. They choose those things. And then also the app is watching their learning patterns. So based on those pieces of information, we have an algorithm that chooses from the library content that is suited to their interests and their age group and their level. Also, after they watch videos or after they read the playbooks, they click on a very simple interaction like, did you like the video? Do you want an easier video or a harder video? And based on that feedback, the algorithm is always going to be adjusting its recommendations. So you can kind of imagine that this is like Netflix or YouTube, but for English language learners. So in the app, the students are going to see a feed of videos and playbooks. They're going to see they can scroll through it and they can choose the things that they want to watch. They can also favorite specific content that they want to come back to later. And that's going to be all organized in their likes. Like if they click on likes in the top right-hand corner, they're going to see all their favorited videos and playbooks. Whoops. So after they watch a video or a playbook, they're going to be presented with some word cards. So these are words that have been selected from the transcript of the video or from the playbook, from the text in the playbook. We've pulled out some particular words that we think are at level for the learner. They're going to be presented with those words after the video or the playbook. And in order to kind of claim those word cards, the student has to say the word correctly. They have to click on the little microphone icon that you can see at the bottom right-hand corner, and they have to say the word correctly in order to get the card. And so sort of the game mechanics of this app is that they're collecting cards and they're leveling up their cards. So there's different levels from C, B, A, S, and SS. And SS is sort of the gold level card. So the way that they level those up is by seeing them repeatedly throughout the app in different games and different interactions. So besides the videos, the library of videos and playbooks, we also have a separate library of extensive reading e-readers. So there's a library of around 1,000 graded ebook readers, and they range all the way from, they're both fiction and nonfiction. And there's lots of different topics, high interest topics for students. And they range in level all the way from phonics decodable, very, very simple stories, all the way up to upper intermediate level, so kind of novels. All of them include embedded audio, and there's activities that follow the book. So those focus on vocabulary, key expressions from the book, and also the content. So there's comprehension questions as well. When I was talking about ClassBox, I mentioned that from ClassBox, from the LMS, you can send homework assignments to your students. So the way that you do that is in this part of the app called Class Booster. So Class Booster is e-learning activities that accompany all of our course books and skill books. So they're linked, so each unit of every book that we produce has its own set of activities that are embedded within ClassBox. As I mentioned, it's linked with ClassBox for assignment. You can assign homework within the app. And also when they do the activity, it's reported to the LMS in ClassBox. You can use it for flipped learning. That means you can assign it to the students before class to have them learn the vocabulary, preview the content, this kind of thing. And then they come to class and they do more sort of communicative activities in class. That would be for flipped learning, or you can also use it for reviewing the content. So after they've done class, you can get them to do their Class Booster activities for homework. So when you assign the homework in the LMS, they're going to receive a Quest notification in their app. I showed you that before. And after they do their homework, they receive some coins and they can use those in the app, in the game. So each title that we have, I mentioned it has different kinds of activities in Class Booster. There's usually, for lower levels, there's usually 5 types of activities. Somebody is drawing on the screen again. Hold on a second. For lower level activities, lower level books, there are usually 5 activities. And for higher levels, like New Frontiers, which is for teens, there are 6 or 7 activities. So Word Flash is just a flashcard function. It has the word, an image, an illustrative image, embedded audio, and it also has voice recognition ability as well. So students can say the word, they can click on the microphone icon and say the word, and the app is going to tell them whether they pronounced it correctly or not. Word match is just a little game for the students to quickly check their understanding of the vocabulary. So it's going to get them to match the word with the picture that they saw before. Then there's a quiz. So this is just multiple choice questions that are about concepts and learning points from the main reading passage or listening passage in the unit. We also, for the higher level students, we include one question that has new content as well. For the unscramble activity, this is where we've taken key sentences from the passage and we've scrambled them, and students can use voice recognition, so they can click on the microphone. They can say the sentence in the correct order, or they can use a drag and drop functionality. They can click on the words in the right order. So these are kind of key sentences that are related to the grammar point or related to important points in the reading or listening passage. Then we have a summary activity. The summary activity usually takes the main passage and gives them a condensed version of it, and they have to fill in the blanks with the keywords from the unit. We have an audio activity that gives them an audio version of key sentences from the passage, and they have to repeat after the audio. It also gives them the reading as well that they can listen to while they're listening to the audio. And then for some books where we have video, students can preview or rewatch the video right in Class Booster as well. So the video app is another element. As I mentioned, every time they do an activity on the Big Box, it gives them some points, and they can use those points in the app. And it's also reported to the ClassBox LMS. So I'll just show you a video of the mechanics of the app. So this is the Class Booster section. So if they enter the book that they're using and the unit that they've been assigned, they can see the different activities. So this is the word flash activity.
Celebrate. Aim. Anxious. Hopeful. Careless. Schedule. Forget. Swap. Reach.
And this is the second activity, word match. So they're timed and they have to match the word with the picture.
Careless. Celebrate. Anxious. Forget. Hopeful. Reach. Schedule. Swap. Aim. Colleague.
I can do better. This is the quiz section. So this is about content from the reading in the book, in the unit. But it also has a separate activity that involves new content.
Hey, Mom, how are you today?
Like this.
I'm not.
This is the unscramble activity, and they can use drag and drop like I'm doing here, or they can say the sentence in the correct order. I'll just skip ahead. It's a little bit the same. And these are all grammar structures from the unit that are important, so they can either preview them or review the structure. And they get sort of increasingly difficult as you go through them. The next one is the summary section. So they're given a little summary of the passage, and then they have to enter the key words one by one in the passage. Sorry. The audio activity gives them
Hey, Mom, how are you today?
gives them a sentence to repeat.
Hey, Mom, how are you today? Hey, Mom, how are
Your father was being careless. Your father was being.
And these are key expressions from the unit, so they can either preview them or review them after class. And as I mentioned before, the video is also embedded within the class, the big box. So that just gives you a very quick overview of the app. If you're interested in installing the app on your own device and exploring it yourself, you can scan the QR code, and that's going to lead you either to Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, and you can download it directly from there. Alternatively, if you go to the store and search for Big Box, you can find the app yourself. The last part of my presentation is about New Frontiers. So New Frontiers is our course book for teens, and it ranges from beginner to upper intermediate level. It's a 6-level course book it's aimed at secondary school learners, so from grade 7 to grade 12, and we have it available in American English, also in British English. The leveling is from A1 in book 1, and it ranges all the way up to B2 in book 6. In terms of the features, it has a 10-unit structure, and the lessons are kind of grouped into each unit, and they're connected by themes and goals. So for example, you might have one unit about food, or one unit about shopping, and there's 5 units that are all related to that same theme. It balances input and output skills, and actually all 4 language skills. So one thing that's unique about this book is that it has a whole lesson that's about writing, or a whole lesson that's about listening, a whole lesson that's about reading. So each language skill has a whole lesson in each unit. Each unit has a clear focus on building CEFR competencies. So what we did was we took the list of CEFR competencies when we were planning the course, and we used those to structure the course. At the end of each unit, there's a thematically linked 21st Century Skills project. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, so we'll leave that for later. And I think the designers at our company did a really great job with this product. It's got a bold, colorful design, and there's entertaining comics and animations for students to make the class a little bit more lively. So just in terms of the structure of the book, there are 10 units in each book, and you can see every 2 units, so there's 2 units, and then there's a review. So 5 reviews in total. So that's quite a lot for the book. So there's lots of chances for them to consolidate their learning. I'll just give you a brief walkthrough of one of the units. So the unit starts with this kind of big, bold illustration, image that will get the students thinking about the topic. It also lists, you can see this QR code on the left-hand side. So you can scan that and you can actually have all of the audio on your device. You can play it directly on your device. So I do this all the time in my teaching, and it's very convenient. You can see at the bottom left-hand corner, each lesson has its own language skill focus. So for example, there's one about listening, one about speaking, one about reading, one about writing, and then there's a project unit, project lesson. And each lesson has its own very clear competency. There's also, on the first page, there's questions to kind of lead into the topic, to get them to focus on the photo and to personalize the topic for them, to generate interest for the topic. So I'll just give you an overview of one of the lessons. So we start with the vocabulary section. So there's a very simple activity where they listen to the words in order. They're focusing on the pronunciation, the sound of the word, and those are matched with images as well. So it makes it easier to explain the word to the students. Then they go through a focus activity. So focus just gets them to focus on particular structures that are going to be in the listening section. So first they practice saying those with a partner, and then we have a little activity where they practice with a multiple choice question. So this gets them to focus on the key structure of the lesson, so that when they hear it in the listening, it's going to be clearer to them. Then what we did with the listening is we went from kind of general to specific. So the first time they listen to the audio track, in this case, there's 4 different short excerpts, and each one is going to be about a different topic. So the first time they listen, they just listen for the general topic. Then the second time they listen for the more specific information. We also know that most classes have a mix of different levels, and so we wanted to give a little bit of flexibility to each unit. So we included this challenge section. The challenge section includes more realistic, longer passages, either reading passages or audio passages, listening passages, and a little bit more challenge for the listeners. Same structure and same basic themes or content, but more natural and a little bit longer. So the speaking section, speaking lesson goes through a very similar flow, but I just wanted to show you that we have a grammar focus. So we have very communicative activities at the end of every unit, but we also know that pure communicative language teaching is probably overwhelming for students. So they need some instruction in grammatical structures. So we include that in each unit. So there's usually some grammar table where we teach with very simple explanations. We show the structure that we're teaching, and then we have some activities for them to practice both in the student book and in the workbook. We've also focused on teaching functional expressions as well. And then we give them more communicative activities. So in this case, they are doing reported speech. They listen to somebody say something, and then they report it. The reading section, we've actually produced all different kinds of reading passages, lots of different formats. So we have essays, blogs. In this case, it's a transcript of a conversation. So lots of different formats to expose them to the different forms. And then there's very simple comprehension questions at the end of each section, each reading. And we go through a very similar flow with the writing section as well. So as I mentioned, the last part of each unit is a project section. So the project section, what we do is we divided this lesson into two parts. The first is a review, and the way that we decided to do the review was to get them to watch a video. So the video includes all the language points and the content points from the whole unit, but it in a kind of fun way. So instead of doing very dry review, they do it in a more entertaining way. So after they've reviewed all of the structures that they've learned, then we get them to do the second part on the right-hand page. The second part is the 21st Century Skills project. So this focuses on 21st century skills, which, in case you're not familiar with them, they're the 4 C's: collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking. So we give them very simple tasks where they can work with their classmates and they can practice those 4 skills. And those are always related to the theme of the unit. So in this case, this is all about environmental problems. So they're going to brainstorm with their classmates and choose some of the solutions that they came up with and then present to the class. Oops, sorry. Just catch up with myself here. In terms of the components for this series, we have a student book, a full color workbook, and a teacher's guide that's available for download. So it's available for free on our website. And the teacher's guide includes lots of ideas for extension, all the teacher talk, detailed class notes for each activity, and also the time so you can plan your classes. It's a very nice teacher's guide. On our website, there's also all kinds of extra materials, supplementary materials. And like I mentioned before, you can also get those from ClassBox. So they include the full answer key, word lists for each unit, downloadable audio tracks, so you can share them with your students to listen to in advance of class. There's different kinds of assessments. There's word tests, full transcripts for all the audio, and midterm unit tests, midterm tests, and final tests as well. And like all of our series, all of our books, it comes with ClassBox and also Class Booster in Big Box. So if you're looking for a book that has CEFR competencies very clearly embedded within it, and 21st century skills development, and project-based learning, and a communicative approach, and a balance of language skills, then maybe you should think about trying New Frontiers. That's the end of my presentation. It ended a little bit early, but anyway, maybe we have more time for a question and answer session. I'll turn it over to Ms. Ocha.
Yes, thank you, Mr. John. So please, educators, if you have any question, you can use the raise hand feature. Silakan Bapak Ibu jika ada pertanyaan atau mungkin ingin sharing, silakan. Bisa menggunakan fitur raise hand yang ada di bagian partisipan. Baik, sudah ada Mr. John. So this is the first question from Mr. Dedi Supriyadi. Silakan, Mr. Dedi.
Hi, Dedi.
Hi, Mr. John.
Hi.
Thank you very much for a nice presentation.
Thank you.
I really enjoy. And the first question is, I only have one question, actually. Well, I'm from Islamic
It could be
school.
a very difficult question.
Sorry,
Okay.
Mr. Dedi. Maybe you can turn on your camera.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Mr. John, my name is Dedi, and I am from Islamic boarding school.
Okay.
So, which is our school is Islamic. So I really like to see your presentation about the ClassBox and what is the one more?
Big Box.
Big Box, yeah, really love it. But the problem is in my school, we have to provide the lesson is in Islamic way. I mean, we don't provide the music thing. Is that possible to create something like Islamic one, Mr. John?
As we move forward, we'll be introducing more and more of our products. And actually, we do have some products that we are adapting for MENA region, which is all Muslim market. So those will be available on our ClassBox platform very soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. John.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Have a good day, Dedi.
Same to you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Dedi.
Thank you, Ms. Ocha.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, please raise your hand. And Mr. John, we also have some questions from the participant. Is Big Box has only application for handphone, or we can access it on the desktop?
We also have a PC version. There's PC version available for download. You can go to classboxenglish.com and compasspub.com. You can get information about that. And so there's a PC version, and there's iOS version and Android version.
Okay, thank you very much. And we already have the second question from Miss Lily Widarsa. Silakan, Miss Lily.
Hi, Miss Lily.
Home educator, so I'm not a school teacher. I need to ask about the ClassBox. Does it provide any printable materials?
All of that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, this school from home thing hopefully will not go on until the end of time. So we may want to have like some printable materials.
Do you remember I showed you the supplementary materials that you can download for each title? There was like a if you click on downloads, there's a list of all the word lists and tests and the worksheets and all of those things that are available for download as well. And all of those are in PDF form, and you can, on our website, you can also get them in Word format, so you can adapt them however you want.
Okay. And then about Big Box. For this application, students work individually, right?
Yes, they do. That it's designed for self-learning, self-study.
Right. So do students have to have their own account, or they can?
Yeah,
have
when they install the app, they'll set up their own account, and then when you share that class code with them, maybe I showed you that class code on ClassBox. Yeah. There's like a 6-digit code. You just share that with your students, and then they link with you.
They don't have to pay.
No, for Big Box, they do not.
Okay. Is there any limit for number of students that we can share the code with?
No, there's no limit.
So it's unlimited?
Yes.
Okay, and one last
theoretically.
Okay. Okay.
I haven't tried it.
Okay. So one last question is about the New Frontier. I saw that you presented the teacher's guides.
Yes.
And they're also available in the application.
They are available, as far as I remember, they're available in the application, but you can get them for sure. You can get them from compasspub.com. You can download them from there.
Oh, so I can, because as a home educator, it's very difficult for me to get the teacher's guides from Mentari, honestly speaking. They don't sell the teacher's guides to teachers like us, I think, only for schools. So it's
these ones are all free, so you can download them freely.
Okay, so once I register, I have an account in the ClassBox, I can get all the materials there.
I think the TGs are available in ClassBox, but definitely they are available on compasspub.com on our website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And those are that's a free download.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Good luck with your teaching.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, please, you can raise your hand and ask directly to Mr. John Edwards. Silakan. Jika ada yang masih ingin bertanya terkait Classbox maupun Big Box ataupun New Frontiers, ataupun mengenai digital interactive learning for teenagers, bisa ditanyakan kepada Mr. John. Or maybe Mr. John, you can.
Or if you have some suggestions also, if you have some suggestions about what you're doing in your classroom, I would love to hear your ideas.
Ya, betul sekali. Yes, that's true. We can share ya, Mr. John. Or maybe you have some strategies, or do you know any challenges when we are having a digital interactive learning with teenagers, Mr. John? Maybe you want to share some tips and tricks?
I've talked to people in different countries. I recently talked to some teachers in Bolivia, and they said one of the difficulties that they're having with their classes is that the students seem very depressed, very, they don't have any energy, and they're not very interested in the online classes. So this seems to be a big challenge for a lot of teachers to keep the energy level up, and especially for teenage learners. So I think this is the biggest challenge that we're facing now with this new teaching environment is, when we're in the classroom, we're kind of used to judging the energy level of the students, and we can kind of adjust our teaching accordingly. But for online teaching, it's much more challenging to do that because we're not used to that. So as I mentioned in my presentation, I think keeping your energy level up, keeping your, smiling and being more animated, and this is very important. And also in your class planning, have some variety, have some different kinds of activities. And so if the class is always the same, if they're always doing the same kinds of things, it's going to be very boring for sure. So having some variety in your teaching is very important for maintaining their interest and keeping the energy level up.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. John. And we also here already have Miss Firna Ina. Miss Firna, I have already unmuted. You can directly ask to Mr. John.
Hi.
Hi.
Mr. John, how to get 15 days free access, and how much is it for the paid access for the Classbox? And then is there a paid version or trial version also for Big Box, or if we get paid or tried for the Classbox, we directly get the Big Box?
For the free version, the free trial version, all you have to do is go to classboxenglish.com.
Okay.
For the paid version, you can contact you can get a one year subscription for the B2C. The customer version is $90. But if you're with a school, you can contact ASTA directly to talk to them about the price.
So after 15 days, it will be paid version.
Yes, and if you contact ASTA, they have some special deals for the price for schools as well.
Okay, and how about the Big Box?
Big Box, there is a free version that you can use with our books. There's also a paid version as well, but you don't need to pay for the Big Box to use it with the Classbox.
Or is it separate between Big Box and Classbox?
Yes, it's separate.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck with your teaching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Virna. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are interested with Classbox or BigBox or even New Frontiers, you can also contact us through our email and also WhatsApp number. I will share the email and also the number later after this. And now we are still in the Q&A session. So I open for any questions for Mr. John.
Or comments if you want to share some ideas.
Yes, if you want to deliver some ideas regarding the digital learning. Oh, okay, we have Mr. Irdal. Mr. Irdal?
Yes.
Please?
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Irdal.
Yes. The real challenge with online learning is how to check the students' work on writing, because not all platform provides something that they can write easily on the screen or on the whiteboard. So there are some activities that they need to write on their paper or in their notebooks. Now,
what are you using for doing writing activities?
Well, we do have activity books, physical books, printed books at home, and the teachers will be broadcasting this classware through the Zoom. Okay. Now the challenge is how the teachers can get to check their writings, the mistakes or their spelling, because that's because this is distant learning. You cannot just
go
over the shoulders.
One thing that I've done is I've done two different ways for different ages of students. So for younger learners, I think it's very important for them to learn like how to control a pen and how to write. So I do a lot of work with worksheets. I get them to print out the worksheets, or I distribute the worksheets, and then I get them to do the physical worksheet, and their parents take a picture of it and send it to me. And then for the correction, I can actually just add comments with any kind of picture, like Paint, for example, this kind of software. For older students, I usually use Google Docs or Windows 365. The reason is they also need to learn how to type, and it's very easy to do annotation or correction. In Google Docs, they actually have a function where you can turn on suggest. It's a suggestion function. So it can actually show the students like how you are correcting their sentence. It shows them the correction. And I think Microsoft 365 also has this function. Have you tried Google Docs before?
No, I haven't. I haven't tried any of those platforms like
Google Docs is great because it's free. If you have a Google account, which is free, then you can use Google Docs.
Can you on Google Docs, can you like put an image, send an image and have it shown there? You can?
Easily.
Okay.
I'm not a salesman for Google Docs, but I use it a lot.
Okay. One more question with regard to general teaching. What's your suggestions to overcome or to face different students with different pace in learning? Some are a bit behind, some are more advanced, and with online learning, it's more challenging to get enough time for the slow one, but on the other hand, the fast one will not get left behind or bored.
Right.
The strategy to overcome that.
I think that's sort of the advantage of having this. Do you remember in the presentation we talked about these three types of classes? You have a content class, the interactive real-time class, and the task class. Yeah. So that's the advantage of having those three types of classes in rotation, because the content type class, students can do that at their own pace. They can listen they can watch the video 10 times if they want to watch it, or they can slow it down, or they can read if you send them something to read, they can read that on their own many times. So it's sort of self-paced. But and also for the task type activities, right? Task type class, if you give them a task to do, they can take their time. They can, they can do it as slowly or as quickly as they want. The only one that's really class-paced is the interactive real-time class. So that's sort of the advantage of having this learning flow.
So what you're saying that within the same section, you may have the content or content type. So everyone's just busy doing their own thing, writing something.
You could do it that way, but I think it's better to kind of give, like for example, with my son, he has one day where he has some assignments that the teachers give him. So that's like a task type day. And then he has also online classes where he's talking with his teacher. That's like the real-time interactive class. And then they also have some content classes. So they're all separate events.
Session.
Yeah,
separate events.
sessions.
Okay, I see. All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Good luck with your teaching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irda. And Mr. John, we also have from Mr. Bayu Jatmiko. Please, Mr. Bayu Jatmiko. Silakan.
Hi again. Sorry.
Hi there. It's okay.
Sorry, Mr. Bayu. Could you please turn on the camera?
Oh, all right.
Okay, thank
It's quite
you.
dark here. It's okay.
Okay, yes,
Hi,
we
Mr.
can.
Bayu.
All right. Hi. Okay, so I have two more questions, and the first question is, does it produce the auto-generate certificate or something similar?
It does which? The class box?
Yeah, the class box. Yeah.
We don't have any specific certificates for that. No.
Oh, okay. I think you have to think about it. Yeah, because once a student finishes from one book, I think it's good for them to have a certificate, like auto-generate certificate.
Okay. I'll suggest it to our developers.
Okay. And another question is, I tried to search for IGCSE or other certificate from Cambridge examinations, but I couldn't find it. Do you only cover CEFR for the class blocks, or is there?
Right now, we only. You mean in terms of the test preparation classes? Yeah, right now we only have material for the ETS tests for TOEFL and TOEIC. But the Cambridge tests are something that we are working on now. So probably within the next 6 months to a year, we'll have those materials as well. We're developing it now. That's what we're working on.
Yeah, because the thing is, many of my students are in favor of doing IELTS, yeah, instead of TOEFL, yeah, and also they are learning IGCSE as well.
Yeah, it's very popular test for lots of areas in the world, so we should definitely have that on our platform.
Okay, that's all I guess. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions?
Any other questions, or anyone wants to deliver ideas, or maybe you already have a successful classroom for teenagers, you also can share to us. That's a great thing to share. Okay, there's one more question, Mr. John. She asked me personally. So if I'm using a printed version, let's say it's New Frontiers, so can we use the learning management system on the ClassboxEnglish.com, including the big box and also the old materials that you showed us before?
If you're using the printed material?
Yes, if we already have the printed version, for instance, the New Frontiers, can we have the access to the classboxenglish.com and also the big box?
Actually, classbox.com is free for any users that already purchased the book, the paper book or the ebook. So if they buy that from ASTA, then they get for free the Classbox and Big Box as well.
Okay, so they definitely get the access, yeah, to the Classbox and also the Big Box, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
For that title, for example, if you buy New Frontiers from ASTA, then you get New Frontiers for free on Classbox and for your students as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. John.
You're welcome.
Well, yes, that would be the end of the Q&A session. And thank you very much, Mr. John, for the wonderful and very informative session about the online program for the high school students from Kompas Publishing. And before we are going to end the session, please allow me to summarize some important points from Mr. John's session. Bapak Ibu Guru yang kami hormati, kami sangat berharap bahwa sesi ini dapat memberikan insights dan tentunya strategi baru ya bagi Bapak Ibu Guru dan bisa menjadi jawaban untuk pengajaran bahasa Inggris yang tentunya interaktif dan menyenangkan bagi siswa di jenjang sekolah menengah atas. Dan program New Frontiers ini merupakan program fully digital yang terdiri dari interaktif e-book dan online practice yang mengacu pada Common European Framework of Reference, serta dilengkapi juga dengan beragam latihan edukatif untuk mengasah kemampuan bahasa Inggris anak didik Anda. Sehingga tentunya sangat sesuai untuk menjadi materi pegangan bagi guru dan siswa dalam mendukung program pembelajaran jarak jauh di sekolah. Dan dilengkapi juga dengan fitur Learning Management System, guru dapat dengan mudah terkoneksi tentunya dengan para siswa dalam memberikan tugas maupun latihan tambahan dan pastinya akan sangat terbantu untuk secara otomatis memonitor progres dan perkembangan setiap siswa dalam proses pembelajaran jarak jauh ini. Bapak Ibu yang tertarik menggunakan platform Learning Management System atau interaktif e-books yang dipresentasikan oleh Mr. John hari ini, silakan menghubungi Education Consultant Mentari Group atau menghubungi nomor WhatsApp kami di 0856 9785 6420. Sekali lagi akan saya sebutkan atau sudah tertera juga ya di layar Bapak Ibu, bisa silakan dicatat. Bisa menghubungi nomor WhatsApp kami di 0856 9785 6420. Dan apabila Bapak Ibu juga memiliki pertanyaan terkait materi hari ini maupun Classbox, Big Box maupun New Frontier, silakan bisa juga mengirimkan email dan juga pada nomor WhatsApp yang tertera. Well, since it's almost time, I would like to say thank you again to Mr. John. Hopefully by this session, the participants are enlightened and also have our mind refreshed, especially for digital learning for teenagers. Ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to share the information about e-certificate. So all the participants here will get their e-certificate, but before that, please kindly spend 3 minutes to fill in our feedback online form. The link and the QR code are displayed on the screen, and this is very important. Please access the online form and make sure to fill it carefully, especially on your full name and active email address. This data will be used for your e-certificate, and you will have your certificate delivered to your email only after you submit the feedback form. Jadi Bapak Ibu mohon untuk mengisi umpan balik online yang tautannya atau linknya sudah tertera di layar maupun di chat room, juga di WhatsApp group ya, sudah ada linknya dikirimkan. Dan mohon diperhatikan untuk menulis nama lengkap dengan baik dan benar, termasuk untuk huruf kapitalnya, karena data ini akan menjadi data untuk sertifikat elektronik. Dan Bapak Ibu akan mendapatkan sertifikat elektroniknya setelah Bapak Ibu submit formulir umpan balik online ini. Silakan Bapak Ibu bisa diisi sekarang. Apabila Bapak Ibu memiliki kendala, silakan bisa gunakan fitur raise hand ataupun chat di chat room ya. Tim Mentari Group akan segera membantu Bapak Ibu. Bapak Ibu sudah banyak ya yang sudah submit online form. Baik, thank you very much for your feedback, and it will be a good contribution for us in improving our quality and to serve you better in the future. Now, educators, please don't leave the Zoom room first because we are going to have a photo session together. So please turn on the camera or video so we can show our happy faces. And my colleague will help me lead the photo session. Please, Mas Dudi, kindly help us.
Oke, Bapak Ibu. Boleh tolong dinyalakan videonya, Bapak Ibu? Kita akan foto bersama. Ada banyak peserta hari ini ya, jadi agak lama sepertinya kita fotonya. Nggak terlalu lama.
Berkali-kali ya,
Oke,
Mas
berkali-kali. Oke, yang pertama ya, yuk yang grid pertama semuanya.
Silakan,
senyum.
let's pose.
Pasang gaya dong, pasang gaya. Oke, 1, 2, sebentar, kita lanjut ke yang berikutnya.
Oke.
Ya, gaya lagi Bu, yang lain gayanya ganti.
Next.
1, 2.
Smile.
Oke, lagi. 1,
Change the
2.
pose.
Oke, 2 kali lagi ya Bapak Ibu. 1, 2. Sekali lagi Bapak Ibu. 1,
Korean
2.
style love.